fasting, slowing. Which one do you choose? I'd say both, because we gotta slow down sometimes, but we also gotta speed up, right? So this video is gonna be dedicated to talking all about how to properly and safely fast. And I'm gonna be mainly focusing on extended day fasting. So currently right now, I'm actually 70 hours fasted. It's been going very fluently. My brain is operating great. I had to surpass some energy humps, but I'm at the point where my body is just running on ketones for fuel and burning through fat and detoxifying and just feeling light as a feather, ready to keep going. So I'm going to be talking a little bit about the physiology of fasting, and I'm also going to dive into some of the tips and tactics and tools you can put in your little toolbox and take with you on your fasting journey. So to start off, your body basically has two choices. It can either burn glucose for energy or it can burn fatty acids. And the preferable default will be glucose because our body just survives off of carbs. Usually it's from exogenous sources. So if you have, let's say, a plate full of tortillas, your insulin's going to rise, your blood sugar is going to rise, and it's going to gradually decrease. Now that's when the magic happens, is when it completely keeps on decreasing that insulin and blood sugar. Your body shifts into a different mechanism, and this is where fatty acid oxidation increases. Now this is the fun part. This is when you start seeing more fat loss, more clarity, less inflammation and all that jazz, because your body's going through the cleanup crew to just shovel out all the BS that's in your body. So during the first 24 hours of a fast without food, you're going to need to pull out that energy from somewhere. And so that energy is going to be taken from your muscles and liver. The energy is in the form of glycogen. So this is like the branches of glucose. And so when your body grabs that stuff, it dumps it into your bloodstream and it takes it to your brain and all your peripheral tissues to stay alive, because no glucose, no life. And so after around 24 hours, you see a gluconeogenesis shift. And that fancy word is basically saying the creation of new glucose. So when you start to run out of that, all those glycogen storage inside of the liver and muscles, you begin to tap into other things. And so this is amino acids and proteins that are within your body that are not needed. They're pretty much just garbage. And so your body is using those things for fuel and energy to stay alive. Then around 36 hours, the real magic happens. That's when fat oxidation completely takes over, and you'll notice a huge shift into ketosis, which is basically the uprising of ketones, an endogenous internal source of fuel when you don't have glucose available for a long period of time. That's when fat loss begins, and that's when people enjoy it the most. And when it's in a clinical setting, it can actually really help people reverse diabetes. It can help people just reverse a whole slew of diseases, celiac, you name it. Autoimmune diseases heal like crazy. Just look into the research, it's phenomenal. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about 4 hormones that are really critical during the fast. And so 2 of them which upregulate during a fasting period, typically around 2 to 3 days. You'll notice norepinephrine and growth hormone rise. And so norepinephrine is basically adrenaline. It's kind of like your, fight or flight hormone that kicks into gear when, let's say, you're an ancestor just roaming around, the old plains, and you see a woolly mammoth and you haven't eaten in 4 days. All of a sudden, that adrenaline kicks in. You have the energy to fight and get that woolly mammoth for fuel and energy. And so this is something that's been ingrained in our human physiology forever. It's totally normal to have this, and it's actually what gives you that energy after that 36-hour-ish period. Growth hormone also rise, and that's as it sounds, a growing hormone. So when you go without food, your body is in this super repair mode where it's just picking up all the old worn out cells and it's using it to repair and replenish your body and give it the love it deserves. Come on, guys. Now, the 2 other hormones to complete the 4 hormone circle is ghrelin and insulin. And so insulin, of course, is the guy that is responsible for bringing blood sugar down when you have a carb-rich meal or carbs. And so when you don't have that stuff and you have no food, insulin goes down a lot. That is like your fat storing inflammatory hormone. You don't want a lot of that. And sadly, the standard American diet, the SAD diet, is all about glucose, 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 and there's never a time for insulin to stop working and being secreted by the pancreas. So really awesome stuff. The inflammation decreases. And then you also have ghrelin, which a misconception emerges because people feel that you'll just have unbearable hunger for a long period of fasting, but that's not the case. It actually, around that 24-hour to 36-hour shift, when you have all these different mechanisms uprise, ghrelin actually decreases significantly. So you will not have as much hunger. And I experienced that myself just about a day and a half ago, where I went through this horrible kind of like, it wasn't horrible, but it was like kind of a hunger, roller coaster. And so, after around that period of time, I was able to just feel steady. And now at this point, being 70 hours, I'm just relying on ketones for energy, and I don't even think about food. I'm just comfortable with water and all these other supplements I'll talk about. Speaking of which, I'm going to talk a little bit about the top tier cheats you can incorporate to make the fast so wonderfully blissful. And we're going to start off by talking about what you need to do before and after a fast, because the fast is just as important as the feast, and vice versa. That means the same thing. But basically, the feast before and after a fast it could either sabotage all the work you're doing during the fast, or it can totally just create an amazing experience. And so one of the things I recommend is for 2 to 4 or 5 days before and after a fast, try to go lower calorie, lower carb, higher fat, higher protein. This will cause you to tap into more of that ketogenic state, have less of the brain fog, lack of energy, yada, yada, yada. You probably have heard of that. So, the cheats, all the amazing supplements. Here we go. We got electrolytes as number one. So, this is your potassium, your sodium, you got your chloride, you got your calcium, a little bit of that, magnesium. All those guys are critical. The 6 of those guys are critical for a fast because you're just processing so much junk. So you're going to be peeing and urinating a lot. You're losing a lot of water weight. So Ultima Replenisher is a really awesome one I found. I've been taking like 4 scoops a day of that stuff. Sweetened by stevia, won't spike your blood sugar, has an amazing lemonade flavor. So you can stack that with your apple cider vinegar, your limes and lemons for more liver detoxification, your B vitamins, your mineral-rich salt, which could also be Redmond salt or Celtic sea salt or Hawaiian red salt. Very beautiful colored salts that aren't just lacking any nutrition, such as like regular iodized salt you find on a restaurant counter. So get some good quality salt. I would say taking 1 to 3 teaspoons a day of that is paramount to your health. Another thing you can actually take is cream of tartar. This is very rich in potassium. So potassium is one of those electrolytes I referred to earlier. So if you don't have a complex, you can just put in a scoop in, like the Ultima Replenisher, which I'm not getting paid for, unfortunately. But I love you guys and I love your supplement. Then you can use cream of tartar and put that in with your salt and apple cider vinegar and all that jazz. 2 drinks you can always consume. Coffee and tea. Love that stuff. As long as it's not sweetened and it's black coffee and it's organic, preferably French press, because the French press isn't totally filtering out all the amazing antioxidants and polyphenols. And it will, help increase your metabolism, stagger off hunger, and you'll just feel a little bit more energized. But definitely limit to around 2 to 3 cups a day, because if you have more than that, then you might start seeing a cortisol response increase, and you're already in a stressed out state without food, so don't have too much coffee. Tea, herbal tea, green tea, man. Get that green tea. That stuff has ECGC, which is an amazing compound only found in that stuff. And it is just amazing for anti-cancer. It's amazing for anti-inflammation. Really good for fat loss. So keep getting all that stuff in. I'd say, if you're approaching the 2nd or 3rd day and you really feel it's unbearable and you need food, despite of what I said about hunger and ghrelin, you guys can throw in about a teaspoon to a tablespoon of MCT oil or coconut oil. Now, this will actually not spike your blood sugar, but it may help increase the fat loss. Surprisingly, it sounds like counterintuitive, eating, it's going to help with fat loss. But it's metabolized by the liver pretty fast, and so it can be used for more detoxification, and it can be used for a little bit more energy. Doing that with essential amino acids, taking around 5 to 20 grams of that maybe during your exercise period or your movement period. If you really feel you got to exercise during the fast, putting that before and after will help a lot with the energy and the muscle repair and all that jazz. And actually, I've been throwing in about 1 to 3 cloves of chopped fresh garlic and a little bit of ginger root, about the size of a quarter of ginger root. And so that will help a lot with the anti-inflammation. It will help you feel fuller, and it's just amazing for just controlling, the entire immune response you have. So you're just gonna kick into gear, the more cleansing and all that jazz. All that jazz. Got a lot of jazz, I love jazz. I guess to finalize all this, it's something that if you got to set a goal, an intention to a fast. For me, it was really about the mind, body, spirit, the whole body, the holistic approach. It was about being able to cleanse out my physical body, which also cleanses out my mental, and it really helps tap into my spiritual side. And so this would be abstaining from something that is always bombarding you every day. Food. We got marketing everywhere. We got unhealthy aisles at grocery stores of everything, colorful, and it wants to be eaten by you, right? But taking the mental grit and applying that to food for 3 days it's going to transcribe to all parts of life. It really will. If you can have the determination to not eat food for that period of time and doing what I just mentioned, all these amazing tactics, you're going to feel more cleansed in mind, body, spirit. You're going to feel like you'll have more determination to work on that project you've been holding off on, or to read that book you've been wanting to read, or any little thing in life. You'll notice a slight increase in your resilience to it. So I hope this video benefited you guys. I really enjoyed just explaining all this sciencey, geeky stuff, but just stay sharp out there, stay lean, and keep treating yourself amazingly, and do the best you can during these hard times. Namaste.